Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop for another little interlude episode here. This is a Q&A. If you want to see me make something with loads of fiery montages, go watch another video. If you want to hear some fantastic viewer questions while it is that I work on this, the leather sheath for the Bowie knife, stick along, because we have a great one, starting off with Saxon Smithy, who asks, what am I going to do with myself once I have mastered all of the things? You seem to be picking up things fast enough, and it won't be long before we run out of things to learn. No, I'm never going to learn all the things. I'm never going to run out of things to learn. I'm never, ever going to run out of things to improve upon. I am nowhere near picking things up fast enough to ever, in my lifetime, run out of things to learn. This is a case in point. I have no clue what I'm doing, and it's a lot of fun, and I might end up having to remake it, but it doesn't matter because this is just such an education. Gareth Swanson asks, why not try and make a Victorian walking cane sword? Well, in fact, I can't. Victorian walking cane swords, a concealed walking cane sword like that, it's actually completely illegal to possess here in the UK. So there is no way I can make it. I like this question. Jay the Jackal 92 asks, what is the Mountain Dew cutting fluid that I use? The coolant that's in the surface grinder that looks really cool. This is not a sponsored endorsement, but it's made by Rocol. It's called V-Cut SS. And you mix it up, and I don't know what it is. I don't know, maybe have it like 1 part V-Cut SS to 10 parts water or something like that. I don't know what the proportions are. I looked them up when I mixed it up for the surface grinder. Oh, bonus question. Nobody asked this on Instagram when I made a post. Follow me on Instagram, @Alec Steele. But people asked me in the past, what happens to the grinding fluid on the surface grinder? Well, precisely 1/4 of it leaks onto the ground, and I need to mop it up. The rest of it flows down from the table into here, and then there are these 3 separate chambers. And what happens is when the level rises up enough, the fluid passes through these holes, and it slowly passes through until it's pumped back, hopefully without any debris. So it does get reused. R. Craig 785 asks if I still have the casting furnace, and if I ever plan on using... I've lost it. Where did I put my tool? Found it. And if I ever plan on using it on casting any guards or pommels, I absolutely do. And that was part of the main intention when I made the casting furnace. But I've got a lot to learn. And so I'm looking forward to learning a little more about it in the future. But it's been on the back burner. Sneak little peek. I have a little plan in the works there to learn a little bit more about casting Roman style, so stay tuned for that over the next few weeks. Troubler1908 asks, what would you tell the younger version of yourself if you could? Now that's a fabulous question, because what that makes you think is, well, what do you reckon the older person of you now could tell you now? Which is an interesting question to ponder. What I would tell younger me is that I still had a hell of a lot to learn, just like I've got a lot to learn right now. I would tell myself it's a big journey ahead of you. Just keep on learning and keep on working hard. Shelby Nime asks, another fantastic question. How do I stay so positive even while making frustrating accidents? Thank you for the question. Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think a lot of it is because of the fact that, look, if you have an end goal and there is a hiccup between you and the end goal, all it means is that you need to overcome the hiccup. If I want to make a kris with an integral guard and a keyhole handle, and I can't get the keyhole handle right, but I have determined myself to making a kris with an integral guard and a keyhole handle, then all a mistake is, it just means I've got to do the same thing over. And it can be a little bit annoying, but if I want the end goal, then I sure as hell better do it over. And if I'm going to do it over, I may as well try and enjoy it. Another great question, especially while we work with some leather. Home with Brooks asks, what is the most frustrating material you've ever worked with? And the answer for that is hands down stingray leather. That was extremely difficult to work with because trying to make accurate cuts for that katana that I made several months ago, well, over 6 months ago now, 9 months ago. Trying to make accurate cuts in stingray leather I found to be extremely difficult because there are these balls of some sort of bone-like, or no, it was dentin material, I think, that coat the leather and make it such a tough and also visually appealing leather. But those things are extremely difficult to cut through. You have to crack them and break them open. And so it was the stingray leather that was the most difficult material and frustrating material to work because I couldn't keep it accurate. Great question come in from Buck Luck. Alec, what was it like dropping out of school to do blacksmithing? Why do you think you succeeded rather than failed? I think it takes being driven and committed to the end goal. And I think it takes not having anything other than success as an option, and it takes a boatload of hard work and determination and work ethic and grit. And I think that's why I succeeded, having left school early as opposed to failed. You know, and on the topic of leaving school, I absolutely don't think that, you know, typical normal education is for everybody. And I think that for a lot of people, and I'm proud to say that I think I've helped prove this point just for myself at least, the better option, provided the grit and the willingness to work hard and put yourself in a precarious situation, is there. I think for a lot of people and a lot of personalities, a lot more is learnt and a lot more is achieved outside of the typical schooling environment. Brian Christofu asks, how do the tack welds end up affecting the pattern when you're hammering out the billet stack? That is a very good question. They shouldn't. So provided your tack welds aren't particularly deep, you know, they're not massive old welds compared to the volume of the material, by the time you forge it all out and you grind through the scale, you'll probably have ground through the tack welds. Now, what I will try and be is cognizant of the fact that those tack welds can play an effect in the pattern if they are in the wrong place. So you'll see when I stack up a billet, imagine this is a billet of Damascus like this, you know, multiple layers and much higher. The way I'll weld it is all four corners, because that stuff gets cut off anyway, and then so that it doesn't bow out in the fire, I'll then just do slight, light, quick little tack welds on the sides of the material. Especially when it's very thin, it can bow out as it heats up. That just keeps it from doing that. Means the amount of weld to the actual Damascus proportion is super duper small, and so it's unlikely to be in the weld. Now there is one moment when I am making my Damascus where I'm very concerned about the welds coming through, and that's when I'm doing a ferry flip or a Felicietti flip, or kind of stacking tiles up to make the pattern reach the surface, just like this. You remember it from the rapier build, from my first sword. Because here we're so close to finished dimension when we take our final pass, we really truly want to make sure that there is as little weld in there as possible, and so I will tend to either do a fusion TIG weld or a TIG weld with very little filler material, and it sometimes needs a little filler material so the welds don't crack because of the dissimilar metals. They don't like it too much. And even if I did do just a fusion TIG weld, what it's doing is it's making a puddle right there at the seams where we've welded it. That puddle isn't keeping the pattern. That puddle is mixing the two alloys and making a composite of the two instead of keeping these neatly defined barriers between one alloy and the other like we do when it's just a normally forge welded billet. And so we'll do the initial forge weld, and then I'll go to the angle grinder and I'll grind out those welds, as I said, even if it's fusion weld, and then we're good to go. That is the time that I'll grind out welds because it is most critical at that stage. Now this is a good question. Magnus Val asks, fave quick snack, tortilla wrap, or banana? Not together. Boomer709 asks, what was the point of the peened over brass pin inside the handle of the Bowie knife, I presume he means? Well, in fact, that was a bronze pin. And the reason for it, as I don't think I explained correctly in the video, so thank you for asking so I can clarify it. It's so that I can drill straight through the wood, straight through the tang, and straight through the other side of the wood without worrying about the steel doing one of two things. Either snapping a drill bit, well, snapping / blunting a drill bit, or sending the drill bit off course and making it drill the rest of the hole out of center. The bronze is much softer than the steel, and so once there's that little pin riveted in there, it means that, hey, I don't need to worry about how easy or not it is to drill through the handle with a tang in the middle, because I just drilled right through the center of the bronze pin, which was just like drilling butter. Of course, that was a little tip that I picked up from watching some of Liam Hoffman's YouTube videos. Fabulous question by Two-Sided Graphics. Does forging a bevel compared to grinding a bevel make it stronger? Well, from my understanding, it absolutely doesn't, and in terms of performance, there is no difference that forging makes to it, provided the heat treats after the fact are done in an identical manner. And by that, of course, I mean the normalizing cycles, the hardening, and the tempering. My understanding is forging doesn't give anything more than just grinding it out of pure stock does, other than the fact that you can achieve shapes that you can't do out of stock removal quite as easily, and you can also make Damascus patterns flow better. And obviously Damascus needs to be forged unless you're buying the Damascus, so they're the main benefits of forging, as well as just like the pure joy and story and history and the whole idea to forging itself. And the last question, and this is a bonus one. This is a mind-reading bonus question, because nobody asked this, because you didn't know that I was asking for a Q&A because I'm on holiday, but the answer to your question as to why there's no regularly scheduled programming this week is I am having a little holiday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back at the workshop very, very soon. I hope that you've enjoyed and will enjoy some of this interlude content, and I'm going to be back here very soon making more fun things. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.